think that we were getting done was really because, in my mind, I just felt like people were just kind of tired of hearing from us, and they just kind of throw bones at us and pat us on the head to send us down the road. But we didn't have a lot of power that people really felt like if I don't do it, if I don't take what they're saying serious, there's going to be some repercussions. And so kind of thought about it when I looked at, when we looked at the primaries in 2014, primaries is some really important seats, and there was some work that was trying to be done in West Augustine, where we were trying to get the city and county to work together as it relates to sewer, and just back and forth. The county saying we can't do it because the city can't, we can't do it because the county, and we're stuck in the middle, saying, hey, something just as basic as sewer. We're having such a huge problem, getting that type of service, and then Mr. White really ran into a wall with one of our city officials. Basically, was like, it don't matter. We're not going to do it. There's nothing you can do about it. And that was pretty blunt. But we had to face the fact that what are we going to do? Make a lot of noise and throw a temper tantrum, and that doesn't scare people. And so really start trying to think of a way, what can we do to get some type of political will to get the leaders to really take our concerns serious. And so when I saw that those primaries, there was a couple races that were real close, and one race that was surprisingly close. We looked at 2012. In 2012, there were some city commission races that were won by less than 300 votes. And then we looked at the primary and saw that, whoa, looks like the same thing might be happening in the general for 2014. And so we pulled together around August after the primaries. We were thinking about before the primaries, but we just wait to see what's going to happen in the primaries, and we saw that, wow, there's going to be some really important races that are real close. And so we pulled this group together, we pulled 300 concerned citizens together, which really visually, you probably never see more than 25 to 40. But what we did is said that if we can get a group that could make a commitment to vote together on some agreed upon candidates, we can't win an election, but we can swing an election. And so we pulled that concept together. We began to reach out, and especially with a lot of our younger people, younger adults, to say, hey, when you make a commitment, and the idea was we needed 30. We found 30 people that were willing to go and find 15 voters to register to take this pledge, and you all get one of those sheets. But take a pledge that we had 75% of our group agreed on a candidate, that you would make a pledge to go with that candidate. And so those 30 people went out and got the 15 that we needed and more. And so we probably ended up with somewhere around the area of about, I don't think it was quite 500, but it was somewhere it was over 400 that we ended up with in our database. And those were pledges that committed, and some were from the county, and so all weren't city that could participate in that election, but the ones that were in the county said, we're going to agree to work to bring it together, and then with understanding that as we became established, and then we would grow this out, and from an ideal 300 in the city to 1,200 in the county. And so that's the area that we're going. And so we had a forum, and we were able to ask a lot of questions with the candidates that were there. And after the forum, candidates were allowed to leave, and we all stayed in the room down in the Gallimore Center, and we went through each race and said, we talked about the pros and cons, what do you like, what didn't you like, and whatnot. And then after the discussion, we voted. And I think we probably had about 50, 60 people in there that stayed back to vote. And then one of the main races that we came to an agreement on was that I think it was somewhere about like 89% that wanted a new candidate for mayor, and about 11% that supported the mayor, that the incumbent that had been in office for a few terms. And that seemed like a really hard road, because that former mayor, people wouldn't even really run against him, because that was a hard road to get, a hard road to hoe. And we agreed on that, and we put it out, and there was someone, a pretty significant person in the city, that made a vote from one of the pictures that the record had. It said 300 concerned citizens look like 30 concerned citizens. They made a joke, and so I screenshot the picture, and I put it out there, and I said, well, this person right here is making a joke and saying that we're not going to make a difference. And naturally, that person tried to do everything they could to apologize to us, but in the end, I think the election was decided by less than 200 votes, and everybody in the city knew that 300 concerned citizens played a real role in that election. And so that's what we grew out of. And so now the vision is that we've grown to a place to where we really are respected in the city, and now we want to continue that success, but now grow what we're doing, so to get about 1,200 that are willing to vote together in the county for agreed upon races. And so that's kind of that's our story. And the objective really is just to have some type of political influence in the process. Nothing. We don't want special treatment. We don't want anything. We don't want anybody doing anything special for us. Just we have some type of political influence to where people will take serious what it is that we have to say. I'm going to tell you a success story of the last one. I think one of the large issues that the media really embraced was the diversity in employment that the city of St. Augustine was simply horrible. The diversity, we actually had the diversity in employment at that time was like 4.3% African Americans in the entire city of St. Augustine, and then in the top 3 categories, there was absolutely no African Americans in the top 3 categories of the city employment. There were no black police officers, there were no black firefighters, and that just sounds kind of ridiculous. There were no black elected officials, and really, it had really become an invisible group of people in the city. And so from that election, everybody was real clear that 300 concerned citizens played a role. And so the first move that we made after that election, and diversity in employment was one of the big issues, was that we set up a group. I invited Greg White, he was West Augustine chair of the West Augustine CRA, by Dwyla Willis. She was over the West Augustine the Wheat and Seed. I invited Ron Stafford. He was a local pastor. Trudy Thompson. She was the NAACP president. Delta Long. She's a very active person in our city, served on our planning and zoning board, and served on other boards. I invited all of them, including myself, to form what we now call the accountability group. And we formed, and then we went and had a conversation with the city manager. And with that group, basically, with the accountability group, we had our plan. The purpose was to provide advisory assistance to the city manager of St. Augustine and creating a more diverse workforce from every departmental level of city employment, with a threshold that exceeds the demographic makeup of city population. We will also partner with the city by providing a network to create a productive and inclusive work environment for minorities to thrive professionally. We got our plan. We want to deal with entry, 2, promotion, 3, retention, and then 4, identify diversity best practices. And so that was our plan, and we started in January of 2015. We started in January of 2015. We started meeting with the city manager month. We still doing it. Kudos to you all for coming in this right here. I appreciate you all. But we started meeting with, in January 2015, we started meeting with the city manager. He came over and we said, this is what we want to do. We think it's extremely important. One of the main reasons is that when you sit with your leadership team, there's literally no diversity around the table when you sit with your leaders. And so we said, we don't think that people intentionally are excluding or not including minorities in the progress and being able to move throughout and up into the city employment. But we think because there's no diversity, there are voices that are missing. It's almost like having a planning group and not having any women. Well, if you got a bunch of men just sitting around, we might think about things that are important for women, and we might not. And so as we share with him, we're not saying that everybody's just these intentional racists, but we do think because of the lack of diversity and voices that there's some input that you're missing. And there are things that would be a red flag to some people if you were in a group that they're not red flags when you all are talking. And so he agreed, and we began working on those issues. And now that we've been, now that it's been about a year and a half, it's been about a year and a half since we've been meeting, and that 4.3% employment that we had now is 8.19, literally almost 100% higher. You know, we've doubled what it was. Since we started, when you look at the actual rate of blacks compared to everyone else that's been hired, because what they do each month, they have to give us reports on the hires that took place, we can look at trends, internally, promotions that took place, we look at all those things, and we're really clear, we don't want pity on black folks. Because if we get the wrong one in there, it's going to make the whole everything look bad. You get your hire wrong. So we're not asking you just to hire black people because they have black skin. We want fair treatment for the best and the brightest, just like we look for the best with every other area. We just want to make sure that blacks are getting fair looks, and but we want the best and the brightest. Please don't make any Don't do us any favors and just hire someone because they're black, because that's going to hurt what we're trying to do. We need testimonies to say, you know what, when we started making sure that we were inclusive, the workforce became better. And so, since we started, almost 37% of the new hires since we started have been black. And we're talking about a workforce where 4.3 were black. And so we're making a real, extremely, we're making a big difference. But more than that, now the leadership of the city of St. Augustine is starting to recognize the difference. And even within the top there, recently there was, we have 2 black police officers, we have almost 2 black firefighters. We have someone now, the assistant finance director. He was black, that was recently hired. That's in that top echelon, and we've had promotions within where promotions were extremely difficult. We've seen promotions, and we get those reports once a month, and I think that we're really fair also because we make it, just in our meeting today, we make it real clear that if Canada's not qualified, please do us a favor and don't make that high. because we need to make sure that there's credibility to what we're trying to do. And so they'll